The last time I saw you, you needed help getting out of bed so that you could have aid to go to the bathroom because you were too weak to walk on your own. It is with heavy hearts that we gather today at this church that Jimmy loved so much to celebrate his life. I know that even if this church were 10 times bigger, every seat would still be filled. I was chosen to speak to you all today, not only because Jimmy was my uncle, but also because of the impact that he left on me and so many others around him. The amount of lives that Jimmy touched and meaning that he gave to us all will never be forgotten. Jimmy perfectly completed his family, was an outstanding friend, and was a huge source of strength for all of those around him. As I look out today at Jimmy's wife and 4 sons, I'm reminded of all that he has done for them. Jimmy was exactly what a father and husband should be. For 35 years, he loved his wife Margaret unconditionally. I remember going to Christmas at their house and watching the two of them interact. Jimmy would joke around with Margaret and knew exactly what to say to make her tell him to knock it off. Nobody could make Margaret laugh the way that Jimmy could. They perfectly balanced each other. At the same time that he was her biggest nuisance, he was her everything. Even more than the love that Jimmy had for his wife would be the love that he had for his children. Jimmy would do anything for his sons. Even when his son went from from studying in a seminary to being in drug rehab, giving up on him was not even an option. Jimmy always made sure that his sons knew that he would always be there for them. Like the relationship between the sun and the moon, the care that Jimmy had for his sons was never ending. Luckily for those around him, being a good husband and father was not all that Jimmy excelled at. There wasn't a time when I was with Jimmy that he wasn't making those around him laugh. He was a hilarious person. His raw personality and goofy moods were undeniable and very contagious. Half the time you didn't know if he was being serious or not, but that was the fun of being around him. I remember going to a fundraiser at his son's school and watching some kids go up behind him and throw a pie in his face. He didn't even get mad, nor did he care about the fact that his good shirt was ruined. In fact, he made a joke about it on live television. When Jimmy wasn't being goofy, he was being sincere. Someone who saw this side of him quite often was my dad. In Jimmy, my dad found not only a big brother, but a best friend. As he was Jimmy's younger brother, he got to watch him make mistakes and make triumphs, and from this, Jimmy became his role model. From their annual hunting trips, dinners out with their wives, and constant phone calls, they always made it so that they were close. From them, I learned that there is no greater friendship than that shared between siblings. Along with enjoying his friendship, those around him also like to take comfort in how brave Jimmy was. Even after finding out that he had brain cancer and he was going to die, Jimmy was so strong. He did not let his brain tumor ruin him. He told Margaret that she couldn't be afraid because she needed to be there for their sons, and he didn't even think about himself until he had made sure that his wife and sons would be okay without him. We never got to see how scared he truly was because he always had his brave face on. Quite the opposite of ruining him, actually. The tumor led him to good things in some ways. He found out that he could be even deeper in his faith than he was before. Jimmy used his faith as a way to get through his tumor and to find answers, and he passed this devotion along to us. We all got to see the change in him from this, and we all got to experience it as well. One person who experienced this exceptionally well was my sister Amy. She hadn't gone to church in over 5 years, but Jimmy, as one of his dying wishes, wanted her to go again. She did this, but I know that if anyone else would have asked her, she wouldn't have done it. It is incomprehensible to imagine what our lives would be like without Jimmy. So I'd like to remind you all today that we are here to celebrate and not mourn his life. He was an exceptional father, husband, and friend, and a huge source of strength to all of us. And the amount of lives that Jimmy touched and meaning that he gave to us all will never, ever be forgotten. So I want you to remember that the next time you think your life is bad, that even when Jimmy was dying of cancer, he could find the good. Rest in peace, Jimmy.